Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain. We treat discomfort like a curse, like something to run from, like something that makes us weaker or broken. But in truth, pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to refine you. It doesn't come to paralyze you. It comes to wake you up to the parts of you that comfort has kept quiet. Until we're tested, we often don't know who we really are. When everything is going right, it's easy to smile, to act strong, to look the part. But when life hits you in the mouth, when the storm rolls in, the lights go out, and everything you thought was certain gets stripped away, that's when the real you shows up. Or it doesn't. That's when you find out if your foundation is faith or just feelings. Pain introduces you to the version of yourself that's not based on applause, not based on position, not based on status or titles. It introduces you to the raw, stripped down you, the one who has to make a decision without the crowd cheering. It forces you to ask, who am I when nothing goes as planned? It's in that place that purpose is born. Not because the pain feels good. It doesn't. Not because you wanted it. You didn't. But because in that pain, you begin to see things differently. You start to recognize that the struggle is sacred, that the fire isn't there to consume you, but to cleanse you. The breaking is actually a blessing in disguise, not because of what it takes from you, but because of what it reveals in you. When I laid on that turf, my arm paralyzed, my football dreams evaporated in a single moment. I could have quit. I could have questioned everything. And for a moment I did. But then I realized something. The pain didn't come to kill me. It came to show me that there was more to me than football. That there was something deeper, something that couldn't be touched by circumstance. It revealed my character, my grit, my purpose. See, when your dream dies and you learn that your identity can't be built on things that can be taken away. You learn that what's inside you is bigger than what's around you. Most people want transformation, but they don't want the process that comes with it. They want the result, but not the resistance. The problem is, without resistance, there's no revelation. And without revelation, there's no reason to rise. Pain pushes you out of complacency. It kicks you out of the shallow end and forces you to go deep. Not just with your effort, but with your why. It makes you reach for something bigger than yourself, something eternal. And when you do that, you don't just survive the pain. You're changed by it. You become someone new, not in spite of the pain. Because of it, pain isn't the enemy. It's the passage. It's not here to defeat you. It's here to define you. There's a version of you that helped you survive. That version made choices based on fear, on necessity, on trauma, on habit. That version did what it had to do to get through the day, to protect itself, to stay safe. And that's okay. Respect it. Honor it. But don't stay loyal to it. Because that version of you, as necessary as it was, is not enough for where you're going. Growth requires that you let go of who you were so you can make room for who you're becoming. And that's one of the hardest things to do, not because change is impossible, but because the old version of you is comfortable, familiar, predictable. You know how that version thinks. You know how that version moves. You know its excuses, its patterns, its limits. And even when you don't like those limits, at least they're safe. But destiny isn't safe. Purpose isn't comfortable. The next level of your life will not accept the old mindset that got you here. The conversations, the habits, the distractions, the excuses. What worked in one season will sabotage the next. There's a cost to elevation. You don't just wake up different one day. You decide to be different, you become different. And that means letting some things die. Not because they were bad, but because they've expired. Their time is up. What served your survival can't sustain your growth. It's like climbing a mountain. At the base, you carry everything: food, tools, supplies, even a tent. But as you go higher, oxygen gets thinner. The air changes. The terrain changes. You have to drop some weight. Not because it wasn't useful down low, but because it's a liability up high. That's how it is with your old self. The thought patterns that once protected you are now limiting you. The people you once related to now pull you back. The excuses you used to justify delay now cost you opportunities. And you've got to be honest enough with yourself to recognize it. What holds most people back isn't a lack of talent. It's their unwillingness to shed who they were. They romanticize a version of themselves that no longer fits. They keep trying to walk into new seasons in old clothes. But the future doesn't respect who you used to be. It only responds to who you're becoming. And if you refuse to evolve, you'll find yourself stuck. You'll keep repeating the same cycles, having the same conversations, facing the same setbacks. Not because life is against you, but because you're still showing up as someone life has already outgrown. There is a greater version of you waiting on the other side of your willingness to change. But you can't take the elevator to that version. You've got to climb. You've got to confront the part of you that wants to stay comfortable. And you've got to choose purpose over familiarity every single day. Every day people wait. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for clarity. They wait until the fear goes away. They wait for more money, more support, more confidence. They wait for a sign from the universe that now is the time. But here's the truth. There is no perfect moment. There is no ideal setup. There is no time when everything feels easy and safe and guaranteed. That's not how real change happens. That's not how purpose works. You don't step into your calling because all the conditions are lined up. You step into it because you decide to. That's it. You make a decision and then you fight to honor that decision with every breath, every action, every day. The people who succeed, the people who grow, the people who change the game, they're not the ones with the best circumstances. They're the ones with the strongest decision. They made up their minds. They told themselves, no matter what happens, I'm not quitting. I'm not folding. I'm not backing down. And once you make that kind of decision, it changes the way you walk. It changes the way you show up. You're no longer trying to see if things work out. You're showing up to make them work out. That's the difference. That's the shift. You move from reacting to life to taking ownership of it. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll never start. Because fear doesn't leave before the action begins. It leaves because the action begins. You take the first step afraid. You speak up uncertain. You build nervous. You move forward unsure. And in doing that, you train your mind. You tell your body and your fear and your past that you're not controlled by conditions. You're controlled by conviction. You're led by vision, not comfort. And that changes everything. You'll never master the process if you keep waiting for permission to begin. Life doesn't hand out guarantees. It hands out opportunities. And most people miss them because they're looking for certainty instead of courage. They want the map before they take the journey. But it doesn't work that way. The map comes as you move. The clarity comes as you commit. The confidence comes as you keep showing up, even when you feel like you have no business being there. It's in the doing that the doubts begin to die. And don't confuse a delayed result with a wrong decision. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not right. Just because it's slow doesn't mean it's not working. The process is often hidden, quiet. It tests your patience, your focus, your resilience. And the only thing that keeps you in the game when there's no applause, no progress, no signs, is a made-up mind. That's why the decision matters more than the environment. Because when your decision is strong enough, you don't need everything to be easy. You just need a reason not to quit. Comfort is one of the most deceptive things in life. It feels good. It feels safe. It feels deserved. But over time, it becomes a cage. It lulls you into a state of numbness where you're no longer reaching, stretching, or becoming. You're just existing. You might not even realize it at first because comfort disguises itself as peace. But there's a difference between peace and complacency. Peace comes when you've aligned with your purpose. Complacency comes when you've settled for less than what you're capable of. And the hard truth is, the life you want, the version of yourself you've glimpsed in moments of courage, can't be built inside your comfort zone. Champions understand this. People who rise, who lead, who break generational patterns. They don't cling to comfort. They don't make decisions based on what's easy. They're not afraid to be stretched, to be challenged, to be misunderstood. Because they know that pressure is the pathway to power. They know that discomfort isn't punishment. It's preparation. Every time you step into the unknown, every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you say yes to growth instead of safety, you are building something in you that ease could never create. Comfort wants to protect you, but in doing so, paralyzes you. It keeps you repeating the same cycles, thinking the same thoughts, engaging in the same self-sabotage. It convinces you that good enough is good enough when deep down your spirit is screaming for more. That tension you feel, that uneasiness, that dissatisfaction, that's not failure. That's your future calling you. That's your potential reminding you that you were not built for average. You were not designed to settle. You were made to create, to overcome, to lead, to shine. But you'll never know that part of yourself if you keep choosing what's familiar over what's faithful. At some point, you've got to get tired of circling the same mountain. You've got to get frustrated enough to say, I don't care how uncomfortable this gets. I'm not going back. You've got to be willing to walk into rooms that intimidate you, to start projects that scare you, to have conversations that stretch you. Because the growth doesn't happen when everything is figured out. It happens when you're brave enough to move forward without a guarantee. It happens when you risk being seen, when you risk failing, when you stop protecting your ego and start pursuing your evolution. Most people think the fight is out there, in the world, in circumstances and systems. But the real battle is within. It's between the version of you that wants to stay safe and the version that wants to be great. And every day, with every choice, you're feeding one or the other. There is no in between. Either your comfort is winning or your calling is. If you truly want to change your life, you have to stop making decisions based on what's easy and start making decisions based on who you're becoming. Most people drift through life reacting to whatever shows up. They wake up and check their phone before they check in with their purpose. They respond to texts, emails, people's opinions, the demands of the day, never pausing to ask themselves if their life is being shaped by design or just by default. Living by default is easy. It doesn't require intention. It doesn't require direction. It just requires you to show up and let the world decide who you are and what you do. But living like that comes with a cost. Because after a while, you start to feel empty, unfulfilled. Like you're busy all the time, but not really going anywhere. That's what happens when you're active, but not aligned. You're moving, but you're not advancing. You're doing, but you're not becoming. To live by design means you start taking responsibility for every piece of your life, your mindset, your time, your energy. You stop blaming circumstances and start building strategy. You wake up and decide who you want to be, and then you order your day around that decision. You choose your inputs on purpose. You guard your focus. You protect your peace. And you understand that your future isn't something you stumble into. It's something you shape moment by moment. Choice. That's what design looks like. It's intentional. It's disciplined. It's focused. And most of all, it's personal. It's not based on trends, comparisons, or what everybody else is doing. It's based on your purpose, your values, your call, and the old version of you lived by default because that's all they knew. That version survived. That version responded. That version coped. But the new version of you, the one you're stepping into, doesn't just react to life. It creates life. It designs systems for success. It builds habits that align with vision. It doesn't need everything to feel good to move forward. It moves with direction, not emotion. And that shift changes everything. Because when you live by design, you stop waiting for motivation. You stop hoping for inspiration. You start showing up with consistency, even when the mood isn't there. You learn how to discipline your decisions. You understand that structure creates freedom. People often confuse freedom with the absence of responsibility. But the truth is, real freedom comes from structure, from deciding in advance how you're going to live and then honoring that decision, even when it's inconvenient. When you design your life, you're not being rigid. You're being responsible. You're refusing to leave your future up to chance. You're not letting distractions determine your direction. You're choosing purpose over impulse, design over default, future over feeling. And that kind of choice, day after day, is what separates people who dream from people who build. It's what moves you from potential to power. Because the life you want doesn't happen on accident. It happens by design. Legacy isn't something you leave behind when you die. It's something you build while you're alive. It's not just about what people say at your funeral. It's about how people feel every time your name is mentioned, every time your story is told, every time your example is followed. Legacy isn't built in a moment. It's built in the moments you think don't matter. It's in how you show up when no one is watching. It's in how you treat people who can't offer you anything. It's in the consistency of your effort, the integrity of your choices, the depth of your love, and the weight of your character. You don't find legacy in titles or trophies. You find it in how you live when the spotlight is gone and there's no applause to catch you. Most people chase success thinking it's the same as legacy, but success fades. It's temporary. It's loud. It's public. It's external. Legacy is different. Legacy is quiet. It's internal. It's the imprint your life makes on others, not because of what you had, but because of who you were. You don't have to be famous to leave a legacy. You just have to be faithful. You just have to live in such a way that other people rise because you didn't shrink. That others believe because you didn't quit. That others push because they saw you keep going when it would have been easier to walk away. That's how legacy is built, through impact, not image. Every time you make a decision to be excellent when average would have been enough, you're building legacy. Every time you forgive when you could have held a grudge, when you serve without needing credit, when you keep showing up even when it's thankless, you're building legacy. Legacy isn't about one big moment. It's about thousands of small decisions stacked on top of each other, done with discipline, done with heart, done with purpose. And the crazy part is, you may never see the full weight of your legacy. But someone else will. Someone else will get courage because you didn't fold. Someone else will dream bigger because you dared to live different. That's why legacy can't be ego-driven. It's not about spotlight. It's about substance. It's about building something that lasts long after your season ends. It's about planting seeds that grow in places your feet may never touch. And that means you've got to lead with more than ambition. You've got to lead with conviction. You've got to be more concerned with being real than being recognized. You've got to be more committed to truth than trend. Because when it's all said and done, people won't remember everything you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember how your life challenged them, inspired them, comforted them, or stretched them. They'll remember whether you stood firm when it mattered or folded under pressure. And every day, with every action, you are either adding to that legacy or subtracting from it. You are either building something that echoes beyond you or something that dies with you.